Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today I am talking to Susan Tedeschi. As you probably know, she gave up the solo spotlight more than a decade ago to form the Tedeschi Trucks Band with her guitar hero husband, Derek Trucks. But if you'd like to hear more from the bluesy singer-songwriter on her own, you're in for a treat. She just released a deluxe 25th anniversary edition of her 1998 breakthrough Just Won't Burn, the LP that introduced her to a mass audience and earned her the first of several Grammy nominations. And if she has her way, it might just be the first of several new solo ventures she's got in the pipes. A few weeks back, Tedeschi got on the Zoom from her and Truck's Florida home to dish about unreleased recordings, vacations, what's next for the band, the punk album she wants to make with Dave Grohl. Yeah, you heard that right. And plenty more. Enjoy. Hey, Susan, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Nice to talk to you again. It's been a few years. I recognize that room from the last time I talked to your husband.
Nice.
So, if I got this right, you guys had most of August off, right? Did you get to have any fun, or were you just working on something else?
You know, we've had a little bit of time off. We've been very busy keeping up with, as you get older, all the appointments, from health to children and whatever they're doing. So it's been nice. We've had a little bit of time off, but we've also been kind of busy. Um, but it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I feel like even though we weren't touring, I was still busy doing other things. Like I did a photo shoot and I did filming for content or this and that and lots of press and all that. So even though it's off, it's not like super off. Like we haven't had any time to go away on a vacation, for
Well,
example.
I always wonder too, what people like you would do on vacation, because you spend so much of your life going somewhere on a bus, and I would think a
No.
vacation would be, just wanting to sit in that room, by yourself and not move.
Yeah, actually I kid with Derek. I'm like, honey, I need to get home just so I can go on vacation, which is like
Exactly.
being home,
Yeah.
um, which it's so easy to take that for granted, just make yourself meals or get on, an exercise thing every day and like just have like a little schedule. It's just so nice,
Yeah.
So for me, I love it. But if we went on a vacation, there's so many things that we love to do. Derek and I both like to fish. He's a great fisherman and I do like that. I mean, we actually got to do a little fly fishing up in England when we were up there doing the Jeff Beck tribute, and I
Okay.
caught a nice big trout. So that was fun. So we do like to do that. We like to fish. I love the ocean or love the river, and we have a little tri-tune boat. I like to just take that out and look around at nature and just be out there, or maybe paddleboard. That's really fun. So for me, I'm happy with just being home and enjoying my backyard,
Yeah, I bet.
honestly. Or if we had more time off, to actually go on a vacation would be amazing, but I don't know where I would go. I would go to like Europe or go to Iceland or go to, I'd love to go up to Alaska. I've never really been to Alaska. So that would be something to do.
Well, they're all there waiting for you whenever you guys decide to slow down. But I mean, you're playing again in a couple of days, and you've got this Just Won't Burn reissue coming out, so it never stops, obviously. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time that you or Derek or anybody involved have done one of these sort of reissue anniversary things, right?
Yeah, I think so.
How does that feel? You have a legacy now.
It's very cool. It's very fun. And it's amazing that that record is still relevant and that people are still interested in it and that it's, getting new excitement and just brings me back to some of those old musicians that I used to see or knew or played with and just reconnecting with some of them has been really nice. So it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see how much has happened since then.
Oh yeah, no kidding. But that's the thing. You guys are always, like we were talking about, so busy and so, moving on to the next thing and the next tour and the next album. And when was the last time you actually listened to this album?
I mean, I have recently now,
Well,
But
yeah, I know, but I mean, but before that, you know?
yeah, no, I mean, I don't actually listen to any of my records. And
Oh,
sometimes I'll hear something on the radio and I'm like, oh, who's that? And then I'm like, oh, wait, that's me. Like, I don't even realize like some of the stuff I've recorded in the past because my solo stuff, I don't really do all that live,
right.
because
You
we have
do a
our
couple.
own,
Yeah.
yeah, with Tedeschi Trucks Band, we have our own repertoire of music. I
Yeah.
mean, we have over 100 and something songs that we do with that band. And
Yeah.
then never mind the other 100 something songs from the other band. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to keep up and to remember everything I've done or where I've been. But at the same time, I mean, I like continuing to create and keep moving and keep doing stuff because it's always fun and exciting.
Yeah.
So it's
So
been
so
good.
you had to, obviously I'm guessing you went back and listened to this to remaster it or just, whatever to deal with this reissue. How did it hold up to you? Was it as good as you thought it was back in the day, or was it kind of a high school photo thing to it, or what?
Actually, it really holds up because I think of the diversity in the musicians on that record. So
Sure.
it wasn't like it was just my solo band that I had up until that point. It was a real transitional point for me. So I actually had my old band, which was Adrian and Annie Rains and Jim Lamond, and then drummers like Mike Aiello on it. But then I also had other drummers like Mike Levesque and some of these other folks. And I also had Tim Guerin on guitar and slide. I had Ian Kennedy on violin. I had people like Sean Costello on guitar.
Yeah.
And so to have some of these other musicians on there, it's sort of like a moment in time that I could actually see as a pivot, and how I had to start learning how to recreate myself all the time with different solo bands
Right.
because I couldn't just work all the time because of whatever, maybe because I got married and had children or, whatever. So I'd had, different bands that would come in and I'd work with, and then that would end and, move on and find new players. So it was really the start of just learning to be able to pick up and go and get different artists, different musicians to work with me.
What about
Um,
your own work on the album? When you listen to yourself 25 years ago,
yeah.
how does that feel? What do you think of your own performance on it?
Yeah, I think I sound really young. I think my voice just in time has really matured.
Definitely.
And I was still in my 20s back then. And now, being in my 50s now, it's a very different vocal sound to me. But at the same time, I feel like, wow, I've really kind of been consistent and have kept my voice. And I really, it hasn't changed that much. I actually think it's better now than back then. I think my range was a little higher back then because I was a little younger and wasn't as,
And I hear a
gravelly.
little roughness around the edges, sort of, on those old recordings that I think you have a fuller sound now, you know?
Yeah, I will also the way it was recorded, the
Sure.
actual microphones and some of that stuff, as well as, the compression and some of the reverb maybe that they used then was different than now. Now I feel like it's a little bit more how you would hear me live.
Right.
Um,
Were you surprised at the reception it got? Because I mean, it really just sort of blew up out of nowhere and sold. I think it's over. It's platinum now, and you got the Grammy nomination and all that. I mean, were you expecting any of that at the time?
No, no. I mean, when it went gold, it was shocking because it went gold like within the first year. And, they were like, oh, we were happy to sell 60,000 records and I sold 600,000 records,
Yeah,
So that was huge. So that was a big thing to have it go 100 times more than I ever thought it would.
yeah,
And then to have the consistency that it has had over the years and the people that through the years that I've met that have told me that they have listened to that record. Everybody from like a prison inmate to Gwyneth Paltrow, to like, oh, I love your version of Angel. And I'm like, what? Huh? Okay. And, you just never know who's listening to it. And so it's one of those things that you're just really thankful that you made it in the moment and it was like it's a snapshot in time, but then it's nice that it has lasted throughout the years and some
yeah.
people are maybe discovering it for the first time.
Yes.
And also it's a part of me that I don't always do with Tedeschi Trucks Band. Some of the songs like Rock Me Right and things like that, I just don't, we don't do things like that really in that band so much.
Was it when it did take off and all this was happening, was that a hard time? I mean, because I would think it's I'm sure it's thrilling and exciting and you're on the roller coaster, but I don't think anybody's prepared for that kind of sudden overnight, although obviously
Right.
you've been at it for years before that, but you know what I mean? Was it a weird adjustment? Was it difficult in the moment?
It was for me. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like looking back on it, I was really lucky to be dating Derek. And because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, because he's an incredible musician and I trust his instincts and the things that he likes, and we have a lot in common. But also because, he can see, he's not, he's more of like a real musician. I hate to say that with the Grammys and stuff, but some people are pop artists and it's like you get a lot of manufactured stuff and people kind of try to mold you and create you instead of you being able to create yourself. And in that moment, I could feel that pressure starting. And I was kind of happy that I didn't win it because I would have had so much pressure
Right.
to have made a record right away. And emotionally, I was just, kind of all over the place. I'm a very sensitive person. And I just remember being very emotional and like having a hard time really figuring out what direction to go in. Cause at that time, I really hadn't been like super, I mean, I was diving into the blues, but I still had a lot of folk and a lot of country influence. And I was really into gospel music, but I didn't really have like a direct focus. And I was really having a hard time seeing how being a blues artist was really going to be something that, made sense,
Right.
for the next record, but I just kind of took off a little bit of time and like was kind of watching it and like trying to write and doing that kind of stuff. And, it was really such an interesting time because, um, you do get all these different people throwing stuff at you, and so it was overwhelming. And looking back on it now, I'm like, gosh, I'm so lucky that I didn't just jump in and make a record right away. And that I did. And then I actually wasn't happy with it. And then just like kind of still have the masters from that.
Really?
Uh,
So there's an unreleased album sitting around somewhere?
there's an unreleased album that came out right after that didn't come out right
And
after.
do you think have you listened to that lately? Do you think it's worth maybe?
I haven't listened. I started to a little bit, but it's funny because I made that record with the guy that produced that one, which was Tom Hambridge.
Right.
Well, since I scrapped the record and didn't do it, he took a lot of the songs that we had on that record and re-recorded them with Buddy Guy. So Too Many Tears and a lot of those songs were on my record that ended up going on Buddy's record. So he ended up having a record with a lot of those tunes.
Well, I think we need to put this out now, right? Come on. That's
I
next.
guess I guess I could revisit it and maybe see what I can do with it. Maybe we can remaster it or something and
Right.
just for fun.
Now we're
And be like,
talking.
oh gosh, these are the unreleased, the way that it could have gone.
So,
But
talking about unreleased, I was kind of surprised that you had so many outtakes. You've got the cover. I'm blanking here. The Coco
looking
Taylor
for
cover
answers.
of
Oh
Voodoo
yeah,
Woman,
little covers. Yeah,
and
Voodoo
looking
Woman.
for answers in the waste of my time. I mean, all three of those really are
Yeah.
as good as anything that's on the album. Was that just a time thing, or what was the decision to leave them off?
Yeah, well, the Voodoo Woman, I think it was another cover, and for whatever reason, it just didn't make it. But the other two, one of them made the record, but it was a totally different arrangement, like a
Right.
different approach.
Yeah.
So that's why that one wasn't on there. And the other one I was saving because actually I wrote it originally as a country song, and then that was an alternative version of the song that I had written. So someday I'm going to release it as a country song, waste my time, because that's how I originally wrote it, more like a John Prine song.
Oh, okay. Because that's an interesting one too. Because it's kind of got I mean, you can almost see why that one sort of doesn't fit on the album sonically, right? Because it's a
Right,
little
sonically,
up and
that
down.
version didn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I didn't record at that time a country version of it, which probably would have fit. You
Okay.
know, that could have been more like the Angel from Montgomery.
Yeah. Okay. One of the other things that I think is great about the album that you should be deservedly proud of is how much of it you wrote, because that's not necessarily always the case. For blues artists, it's there's so many albums that are like, here's a bunch of standards and
It's true. Yeah.
you know,
That's true. I always really enjoyed songwriting ever since I was a teen. And then, I made Better Days, and that one was songs that I'd written plus some covers. And I always liked doing a couple covers because my grandfather used to always tell me people like to hear something they know because then they can compare you to it. And
uh,
so it kind of gives them like that's why he's like, you got to do Angel from Montgomery. So I put Angel from Montgomery because my grandpa wanted me to do that and my dad.
nice.
So at the time. But yeah, so I do enjoy getting to give a mix, and also when you write for a record, I like how it's sort of a snapshot of where you are in the world at
Right.
that time. Kind of, a little bit of a moment into maybe what was going on in your life, and you can kind of remember through your writing, which is kind
Talking about comparison, obviously when this album came out, everyone was saying Janis Joplin, Bonnie Raitt, Janis Joplin. Obviously complimentary, but did it get kind of tired? Did you kind of want to put up your hand and go, hey, yes, I love them both, but I am me, you know?
yeah. Well, I think it was one of those things again, they want to compare you to somebody.
Sure.
Everybody wants to compare like a baseball player to another baseball player or a football player to, are you Barry Sanders? Are you Jim Brown? Who knows? It's the same kind of thing. And I think people just, because they want to know what direction the music is in.
Mhm.
But I like it because those two are very different to me. So Bonnie and Janice are both
Sure.
very different artists, so getting compared to both just already to me shows that I'm more versatile, that I
Mhm.
can be both of those things. But honestly, I feel very lucky to be compared to both of them. They're both incredible performers and dynamic female artists that have changed music in a lot of ways. And so just getting in the mix with any of them, I'm not ever offended. If
Oh,
anything, I'm always just very flattered and go with that. But yes, of course, you're your own person and everybody wants to be recognized as their own artist. And that's all we can do is try to work on that and try to work on your own voice, whether it's,
so so
vocal.
does this give you the itch to maybe make another solo album someday?
It does. It does. It makes me realize that it's been a long time coming, but I've been saying for years I was going to make a gospel record, and for years I was going to make a country record. So I definitely think that those are two records. I think I should make a country record. I think I should go ahead and do that first. And then I'll go to the gospel, or then I'll go to the punk rock record. I don't know. Because I have a lot of different
Oh, I
things
want
in
to hear
me.
the punk rock record. I definitely want to
You
hear the
do?
punk rock record.
You do?
Sure.
You want to hear that punk record? All right. I'm gonna work on that one too, because
Okay.
I there's a lot of consensus now. A lot of people want to hear the punk.
All right. I'm glad I'll put my vote down there. And are you going to get the husband to produce or are you going to look further afield?
I don't know. I'm gonna look into that.
Okay.
My husband's obviously a fabulous producer, so if I need one, I could definitely get him to do
Cheap
it.
too, I guess he works, you know.
Yeah, but it just depends, it depends on which record I'm making. So if I'm making a country record, and I have, people like Chris Stapleton and, people like Emmylou or Dolly or somebody that I want on it, who would be the best person for that? So, you have to kind of think about who everybody would feel comfortable with too.
Well, if you make the punk record, I'd say Steve Albini.
Okay, I'm
All
gonna
right.
write that down.
Yeah, he's in Chicago. He'll do you right. So if you did make a punk rock record, give me one example of a song you might cover for that.
Um, Kick out the jam. See, I don't
Kind
know.
of proto punk, but all right. We can
No,
do that.
I don't know. I don't know if I would do a cover. I think I would write
All right.
a record.
My mind is reeling at the concept of a Susan Tedeschi punk rock originals album. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it would be fun to write it, you know.
okay. So I mean, I have
And I would write it with Mike Madison because he's actually a punk rock guy, believe it or not. He loves punk, who's in our band.
yeah.
And then another one I would get to help me would be Dave Grohl, because
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Dave would
That's
be
a
fun
fair. Yeah.
to do that with.
All right. So, I mean, I have to ask, what's next for the band? Last time I talked to Derek was just when you guys were putting out "I Am the Moon," and he was vowing that the next one was not going to be that elaborate as this one was. Have you started thinking of that yet, or is that still?
Started talking about it, and it looks like, we're gonna have some time coming off for the winter holidays. So I think that's when we're going to really just start diving into writing again, and then just see what direction it goes, and then see if we have any conceptual ideas, as to a record to write. Because it definitely helps to have a certain theme or something that we can all write from, or draw some inspiration from. So I think our wheels will be turning in the next couple months here, and then I have a feeling in December or January we'll probably start recording or writing.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that too. Listen, I'd love to talk to you for another ages, but I know you got other people to deal with. So I'll say thanks for this reissue. Thanks for your time today. Thanks in advance for the punk rock album, and can't wait to see you
Yeah.
guys come through Canada again whenever you
Okay, well,
do.
you got to tell me your punk tunes that you would like me to cover. See,
Oh
because
my
I
God, off the
have
top of
ideas.
my head, you got to do something by the Pistols and the Clash.
Yeah, I love the Clash and the Pistols, so yes,
Maybe Dead Boys, Sonic Reducer. Um, I don't know. That's all the hits.
I like it.
If you need any more, get my email off the publicist and we'll talk. We'll
Okay,
plan it all out.
I like it.
All right. See you later.
Have a great one.
You too. Bye.